Testing. Hello, folks. Welcome to another session in my programming class here. So today is Tuesday. This is the second day of training. Let me get my tools up here. Let me go ahead and let me get the PowerPoint up here. So today the agenda is going to be continuing from yesterday what we did about CSS, the basics of CSS, and basics of, I'm going to spend a little bit time on Bootstrap also. So that is what I'm trying to planning for today. So I got that one here. Let me open this on the right side here. So as always, I would like to start by, if you are coming in new, if you're joining the class for the first time, then we have our website. It's baribasic.com. Please visit our website, baribasic.com. It has all our channels. You can click here. You can go to our Instagram account. You can go to our live classes. Twitch channel, the channel in which you are watching this. You can also find our YouTube recordings and our online textbook. And if you have any questions, you want to chat with me and discuss with me, like not just in the classes but all the time, you can join our Discord channel as well. So there are many ways you can get in touch with us, interact with us, and so on. Now here, what we are trying to do is we are trying to teach you the very basic of web programming. So I always do this in every class. What is this basic I keep talking about? So the thing is, if we go to our textbook, I just clicked on the web, go to our website, baribasic.com. Then you go to our textbook, and here you have our textbook called Web Tutorials. Click on this. And if you scroll down, you'll see something called Fully Built Demo Web App. So go ahead and open this web app. Okay, and you'll get to our simple web app. Now this web app, it does a little bit of responsive design, which means depending on your screen size, like whether you're watching on a laptop or a tablet or a smartphone, the website will adjust, become bigger or smaller in terms of content. Now that is called responsive design in a very simple way. This web app also does very simple page navigation, going from one page to another page. It's a very simple navigation. It does that. And also, along with these basic navigation and looking like this with responsive design, it also speaks to an API server. It has the ability to register for an account, collect token using the account, and then make authenticated as well as non-authenticated calls to the web API endpoint. So these are the things this web app does. Now this is what we are trying to learn in these basic web programming classes. If you already know how to build this, then you don't need these classes. But if you are someone who is like a new and you don't know what I just said about JSON, API, and things like that, then yes, these classes are for you. So this is session number, today it's going to be session number 9. So let me just go ahead and copy that here. Okay, so today is going to be session number 9. Let me bring that up to the center. Yeah, today is session number 9. Now I do these classes every day from Monday to Wednesday. The time is available here. We also have a Instagram channel. So if you go to our website, baribasic.com, you'll find the link to our Instagram account. So please go ahead and follow us on our Instagram account. It's also called baribasic. So follow us on Insta so that you can get our updates and things like that. We're also putting some small videos and tutorials and everything on Insta as well. So there we go. So welcome to the class, everybody, and let's start with today's agenda. So let me go ahead and start that. So let me take this slide here, and then there we go. So yesterday what we did, let's go ahead and try to do that. Yesterday, let me open my Codepen here, right? Codepen is the software, is the platform that we are using to learn web programming in our classes. We also use Visual Studio Code. So during our training, most of the time when I'm learning new concepts, I teach it in Codepen. And when it comes to also along with Codepen, whenever I want to show something which is code based, like local files based, I use Visual Studio Code. Now yesterday, this is what we did. Let me just open that up here. Session 8 CSS practice. There we go. I like to keep my code on the left side, so let me do that. Yeah, there we go. So code on the left side. I want the output on the right side, so let me open the output. Okay, there we go. So yesterday this is what we did. So in this class what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show how to use CSS in a very simple way. That's what I did yesterday. I was able to make these paragraphs and h1 tags have different colors. That is what I did yesterday. Okay, and also I was able to get the same output locally on my computer using Visual Studio Code. So this exact same code which you have on Codepen is available on locally also on my computer. So let me go ahead and quickly run this here. So let me run the local server and then open this, and I need to type something here. Yeah, I need to type that. There we go. So this is the output on the right side. This is the output from Codepen on the right side, and on the left side is the output from my local Visual Studio Code. So both of them identical, well, almost identical, and this is what we discussed yesterday. Now today what I want to do here is, let me go back to my textbook. Now this textbook is what I'm following during all these classes, so let me go to my textbook here. So yesterday this is what we did, which is, yes, basic CSS styling in progress. Now this is what we learned yesterday, and the output, this is what I was trying to get. Let me just open that here. So this is the example code. So changing color, using the h1 tags and so on, and putting some images. Now we already discussed putting images, so we already did that. So that is all done for now. So let's go to the next topic in our tutorial website. Hi Kriti, hi, very good morning. Thank you for joining for the class. Hope you learned something today. Thank you for joining. Okay, so coming back to my textbook, yesterday this is what we did. So today we'll go to the next one, which is the basic JavaScript, making things work. Alright, so this is what we are going to do today. So we're going to learn a little bit of JavaScript. Okay, so what I'm doing here is, according to my textbook, what I'm doing is, in the first chapter, it's called Basics. I'm teaching just the core essentials, the more fundamental, the three parts of any web page. I'm teaching the basic elements of HTML. I'm teaching the basic elements of CSS. I'm teaching the basic element of JavaScript. So I already took care of the basics of HTML. We even did a mini project on that. And yesterday I took care of the very basic of CSS, just the core elements, a simple introduction. We did that yesterday. So today I'm going to go to the last part of HTML, which is JavaScript. Now I want to kind of remind my students here that when you talk about a web page, when you talk about a web app, there will always be three parts. You have the HTML, which is like the skeleton. I like to use this example a lot. You have the HTML, which is like a skeleton, and then you have the hello Navya, hi, welcome to the class. So you have the HTML, which is like the skeleton. You have the CSS, which is like the appearance, and finally you have the JavaScript, which is like the brain of your web page. So right now, if you look at this list of topics, we started here in introduction. We covered all this in the last 7 classes. Now 8 classes. Today is the 9th classes. Yeah, today is the 9th class. In the last 8 classes, we have covered till here. So this much is done. So now we have the JavaScript, the very core introduction to JavaScript. That is where we are right now. So let's go to the chapter here. So let me go ahead and close all these other things for now. So let me close this, and this. Okay, this is where we are. So let me open up the JavaScript chapter of my textbook. So if you're learning, you have many ways of learning. You can learn through our live classes like this, which happen every day from Monday to Wednesday, 4:30 p.m. IST and other timings. You can also go to a YouTube channel, which has all the classes recorded. So if you miss some chapters, you can't come every day, that's fine. We have kept all the classes recordings on our YouTube channel. And finally, if you're like old school, if you want a textbook, then I have written a textbook as well. This is my textbook. I have written it using open source information, my own experience and all that. So there are many ways you can learn. All right, so this is the chapter for today, basic JavaScript. Now this is where you will be spending most of your time, okay? Because now if you look, let me open my web app here, okay? So a little bit of Gyan. Now, yesterday also I spent some time discussing the general topics of introduction to CSS. I talked about how I'm not a big fan of CSS. I don't like to go too deep into it. I like to use Bootstrap. I'll talk about Bootstrap in one of the future sessions. And now you look at this right now, okay? Now you look at this, and this is what you see with your eyes when you open the web app and so on and so forth. And almost everything which is coming up on the screen here. For example, now if you go here and if we try to kind of create a new user account, almost everything that happens on your screen, the CSS part, if I look at the total effort, the CSS and Bootstrap portion was about maybe 10% of the entire project. The remaining 90% of the project when I was building this was JavaScript, okay? So JavaScript is where you'll be doing most of your work when you are building a simple web app like this. So what I'm going to talk about today, like the introduction, and then I think I'll continue with JavaScript tomorrow also, and maybe into next week. So this is where you really get to use, like building the brain part, because there's no limit to how many things you can do with JavaScript. So JavaScript is really like the key to your programming skills. This is where you write your, you may have heard of, if you are already a student in computer science, you may have heard of people talking about business logic. You may have heard people talk about algorithms. How people say, write the code, write the program. So that is all something which happens in JavaScript, okay? So JavaScript is like the brain of your web app. It makes things happen. So today you'll get a small sample of what JavaScript can do. It's going to be a very simple introduction, just like yesterday's CSS and last week's HTML, okay? So let's go here. What did the chapter talk about? So there's a lot of stuff, what I just told you, there's a lot of theory which I've written here, okay? So please read it. If you like reading, then my textbook is there, you can read it. So there are some things in JavaScript before we jump in. There are some things like variables, comments, conditionals, functions, and events. Now we are going to talk about each of those things as we continue the classes. So today you don't have to worry about it. So today let's look at a sample of JavaScript and see what it does. And as always, in every chapter I have a section called Codepen, which is ready to use, ready to run code. So you don't have to worry about, okay, is the code correct or not, how to run it, no problem. Just go to my textbook. Every chapter will have an option called Codepen link. You open it, it opens in Codepen, and it's ready to go. You can just kind of use it. So let me go ahead and run it and see what the output is. So let me open this here. It's loading, it loads, and I'm gonna go, as I said, I like the beach a lot. Whenever I go on vacation, I always go to a beach spot. Where I'm speaking to right now, it's actually a coastal town, so I love the beach. So here what it's saying is, it says this JavaScript, again it says basic, click on the image and it will change, the image. So that's what I'm trying to say. So in this JavaScript, you click on this image, it is going to change into another image. So let's give it a try. There we go. This is the same two beach images I used in the previous class, and so there you go. So this is like magic, right? You click on the image changes. Look at that. So I'm just clicking on it. You can see the mouse here. Click on it, changes. 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 So this is what I was talking about JavaScript. Okay, this is what JavaScript does. All right. So just to go back to what I kept saying, HTML is where you build the appearance. Okay, right now, for example, when you look at this code, let me look at the HTML here. In this HTML, I'm using a image tag. You see this? I'm using an img tag. If you're not able to see it, let me just zoom in a little bit. Yes. I think there is a zoom option. One second. Okay, I'm already zoomed in. Yeah. So you can see here I'm using an image tag. Now this image tag is HTML. It shows you the image. Remember, HTML is about like a skeleton, the structure. So this web page has an image. That is what you're seeing here. Okay. Now look at, now for example, let me make this now. For example, look at this. When I make this, take this one and make it bigger, the image expanded. Right? It expanded to cover the entire screen. Now when I make it smaller, the image again becomes smaller, and it became smaller automatically. And you look at these words. Look at this. Look at this. That sentence. Okay. Now see what happens when I maximize the web page. See, the sentence expanded. Now when I make it smaller, it suddenly became 2 lines. Now this kind of thing where things change and come back, this is what we call responsive design, and this happens because of CSS and Bootstrap. I kept talking about this yesterday. I'm not a big fan of CSS, like manipulating CSS, but I do use Bootstrap. So whenever I make this page bigger, the sentence, it was 2 lines, it becomes 1 line. Now for you it may think like, oh, that's so normal, I see it in all the website. That is correct. It is so normal because you're just using the website. But when you are a developer, you have to make this happen. You have to write the code so that the line, when you look on a big screen, is 1 line, and when you make it smaller, it is 2 lines. Alright? So that is called responsive design, and that is taken care of by CSS and Bootstrap. Okay? So HTML, again, look at the image also. So this image, when I make the window bigger, it covers the entire screen. Look at that tree. It covers the entire screen. Now let me click on it. We'll get this nice girl's photo. There you go. So this photo, the girl is spread across the entire screen. Now when I make this smaller, the girl's photo becomes smaller. Look at the sentence also. The girl's photo becomes smaller. So just like the English sentence, this photo is getting bigger and smaller because of CSS and Bootstrap. Okay, so the image, the letters, the sentences, they all come from HTML, which is the skeleton. And right now when I make it bigger and smaller, this color is like kind of like a different font, a little bit dark gray. It's not actually black color, I think you can see the difference here. It's like kind of a little bit of gray. So that is again a specific color that I'm using. So all these things are appearance, which is done by CSS and Bootstrap. So HTML takes care of the elements, what you see on the screen. CSS takes care of how they show on the screen. And now JavaScript, what we are discussing today, when I click on this image, magic, the image changes. So it's the brain. It does things. So like right now you are using the website, you click on the image, because you clicked on it, like a video game, the image is changing. Now I click on the image again, it's changing. I click on it again, it's changing. So this kind of action and reaction is what JavaScript does. So I hope this, I've been talking about the 3 parts of web. I know I'm repeating this again and again and again. I'm repeating this. I mentioned this in every class, and I'm going to mention this again today. If you are in this class, this whole program, this whole textbook, all of this is built with the assumption that you are very, very new to web programming. So I'm gonna kind of repeat myself a lot. I'm gonna spend so much time just on simple concepts. So right now, this is not like great thing, like you click on it and the image changes. It's not like a amazing invention or something. But if you are able to do this at a beginner level, then yes, you are getting the basics of JavaScript. So there you go. So HTML, elements, CSS, styling, presentation, like color, like things changing, things going from 1 line to 2 lines, 2 lines to 1 line. That is all done by CSS and Bootstrap. And finally, JavaScript interaction. When you click on something, when you type something, when you press a button, something happens. what that something is. It can be anything. In this example, it is this image changing. So that's what JavaScript is doing here, and that is what we are going to learn today. So today in this session, and if we can't finish it today, then tomorrow we'll try to take an image, simple image, and we'll try to build this again in a new Codepen. And after building it in Codepen, we are going to make it happen in Visual Studio Code also. So let's put our agenda for the class in PowerPoint. Okay, so let me go back to my PowerPoint here. So I have today's session number 9. Now today what I'm planning to do here, let me go ahead and duplicate this. So today I am trying to do a very simple, as always, I'm always about the basics. So simple JavaScript. That's what I'm trying to do. Now here what I want is, now let's look at our output again. So I have a simple page. In this I have an image. When I click on this image, the image changes. Boom. This is all I'm trying to do today. That's it. That's all I want to show you guys as an example of a JavaScript action and reaction. The action is I'm clicking the mouse, and the reaction that is happening because of JavaScript is that the image is changing. Okay, so that is what we are trying to do here. So what we have to do here is a web page with image. Okay, and the action reaction is click on image and image changes. This is what we are trying to do. We are trying to figure out a way to make an image change when it clicks. That's all we have to do. So this is our project, this is our assignment, this is our agenda. Okay, so now let's do one thing here. Now before we start coding, I always advise my students, get everything ready before you start typing. Have everything you need to write the code. That's very important. Don't jump directly to coding. So this is our project, this is our agenda, right? Now look at this. First thing is we need a web page that is HTML, no problem. We need to do action reaction, which is JavaScript, which we'll write. Again, no, that is coding, no issues. So my only confusion is click on image and image changes. So which means if I go to my output here, when I click on this, the image changes. So I have 2 images, which means before I can start coding, I need to get 2 images. So as always, let me go to, there are many ways you can get the images. My favorite place is to go to this website, unsplash.com. I have used this in almost all of my classes. So I'm going to go to my unsplash.com here. Now today, let me try to look for, I don't know, pandas. Let's try to look for pandas. Okay, so let's go for panda. All right, you go. There you go. All right, panda. All right, so this panda looks good. Let's see. I like this one. Okay. One second. Let me. Let's see. Portrait. Yes, there we go. So we need 2 images of pandas. Okay, why pandas? I don't know. I just came to the website, suddenly I thought of pandas. So I think this panda is looking good, and this panda is like very tired and bored, like quarantine or something. So let's take this photo. Okay, this panda is like sad or something, and then you have happy panda here, which is this one. Okay, so I have 2 images. One is panda sitting really dull and boring and bored, and second image is panda happily eating some bamboo. I assume pandas like bamboo because it is eating bamboo in this one. So first thing is we need to get the images ready. So let's do one thing here. Let's go to my code repo here. Let's go to my folder, and then let's go here. Let's go to my code repo, Bari basic, and then here I'm going to create a folder. Let's see. Okay, today is session 9. Right, session 9 practice. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to create a folder called images panda original. Okay, and I want to have another folder called images panda small. Okay, we'll be using your font view. I've shown you guys how to use your font view before. Those of you who are new, all our classes are recorded and available on YouTube, so you can check it there. So I have a folder. This is where we'll keep all our things, and I have one folder called original, panda original, and I have another folder called panda small. So I'll go back to this panda website here, and I'll download the image. So let me go ahead and download the image. Okay, download it, and I'll go here and I'll download this. Okay, download it. All right, folks. So let me go to the downloads folder. It's still downloading. We'll wait for it. Okay, so let's go to the folder here. These are the two images. Take it, go to our folder and original. There you go. So we have our panda folders. Okay, there we go. We have both the pandas. So now this panda, I'm gonna call this panda food, I think, and then this one I'll call this panda, I don't know, self-isolated or something. Okay, all right. So I got two photos here. So now this one I want to make it smaller. So we're going to use Irfan view. I explained how to use Irfan view in a previous class. So today I'm going to do it very, very fast. Let me make this 400, and then I'm going to say file, save as, and then I'm going to go to session 9, small. There you go. Perfect. Okay, now I'll take this panda sad photo and I'm going to make it smaller. Okay, I'm doing really fast because already I showed that day how to use Irfan view. So those of you who are small, I'm really sorry about doing it really fast. Small, and then I'm going to save it. Okay, so if I go to these two folders now, I have the same panda images, but now they are of small size. There you go. See, they are now of small size. Good. So I need small size images because we are building a website, and if the images are small, it's easy to use. That is why. So going back to my PowerPoint, so I wanted two images. Two images ready. Yes, so two images ready. So the reason why I do this is simple. Whenever you get any kind of programming work, whether it's a project, simple project, mega project, mini project, whatever it is, before you start coding, always get all the things needed ready before you start coding. Okay, so I wanted two images. I have the two images now. All right, so let's go to Codepen. So let me close this. Let me close this. We'll keep this open. You know, remember what I always talk about. You never type a code, you copy paste it as much as possible. So we'll keep the tutorial on open. This fine, this fine. Okay, so let's go to Codepen now. Okay, and here what I want to do, I want to create a new pen from a template. I always use a template in my classrooms. So I have a template called Bari Basic Template. This template is available for all of you guys also. Just visit our website, it has the template details. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a new pen. I'll call this session 9 JS practice panda. I'm just gonna call this session 9 practice panda because you're using panda images. All right, so I'm gonna save this, saved, and yes, as always, we're gonna keep the code on the left side, and we'll get the output. You know what? I'm gonna make this a little smaller. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Okay, the output on the right side and the code on the left side. Let me make it HTML only. Okay, there we go. And now let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, make it a little bigger. Yeah, that should be good. Okay, so this one is about JavaScript practice. So I'll change the title. JavaScript practice. Let me just call this Codepen. And then here I'll just write, today we are going to make a image click. Okay, and then click the image and the image changes. And the image changes, and this is possible because of JavaScript. A minor spelling mistake there. Okay, all right. So this is what we are trying to do. So we are trying to, we are going to make the image click, and then when the image is clicked, it is going to change, and that happens because of JavaScript. That is what we are trying to achieve in this one, and that is what we are going to do. So as always, I'm going to use a simple horizontal line, and there we go. Horizontal line is done. So now I need to start putting the images. So what we'll do is we're going to check our example Codepen right? So I have my JavaScript basic here, and what is happening is I have the image tag which I'm using. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy it just like that. So let me go ahead and take this image. Okay, as I always keep saying, if you have an option to copy paste the code, please do it. There's nothing wrong with it, especially if it is free and open source and things like that. So this is my image. Okay, that is the girl image from the sample. Now we're going to change this to our panda image. Now in Codepen, before you can use an image, you have to upload it to your assets folder. Okay, the assets folder is on the bottom of the screen. I don't think you can see it because my video is blocking it. Let me just bring this to the right side. So okay, so now you should be able to see it. You'll see an option called assets. So I'm going to go here and I'll get an asset window. Now I'm going to, before I start the coding, I already had created two images, which is this and this. So let me try to put this on the screen here. So this one, and let's see. Okay, it's uploading the images, so we'll just wait for it. Okay, yes, there we go. There we go. That's it, simple guys. So this is how you go ahead and update your assets, image assets to your Codepen. So I have this first image, panda self-isolated, and the second image, panda food. Okay, so let me go ahead and take this URL. Okay, now when we discussed the image tag, I taught you how to use an image URL in your code. So I'm getting the image URL. I'm going to put this back to the left side here. Okay, and this is our output. So I'm going to change this image from this beach person to my panda, and I'll save this. Yes, there we go. Okay, so now what is happening here is, first step, I need to get some text on the top, and I need to get, now this is our sample output. So this is what we are trying to achieve. This is what we want. When you click on it, the image changes. So first we put some sentences saying what we are trying to do. So far we have gotten this. Now of course, look at the difference. So here, when I click on it, the image changes. Whereas here, when I click on it, nothing happens. Nothing happens. So we haven't done the JavaScript yet, but we have gotten about the basic HTML thing is done, and CSS is already working to make it. Look at this. So if I make this like this, 1 second. So if I make this bigger, it'll automatically adjust to the left side. Now this is a small image, which is why it's not getting bigger or smaller. Okay, if you're wondering why it's not doing that. So CSS is already doing its job, and HTML is already doing its job. So now we need to start working on our JavaScript. So let's go to our example code here. So where is our example code? Let's see, not this. And here we are. Okay, so where is our JavaScript? Now, yesterday when we were doing CSS, I told you folks that you will have a separate file, a style sheet, where you put all your CSS code. You can see it here. This is where you put your CSS code. Similarly, JavaScript, you go ahead and put it in a separate file. Now please understand, that is not the only way to add JavaScript to your code. There are many ways to include JavaScript in your code. This is the method I am using for my classes. Okay, but this is not the only way. I just want to mention that. So if you go to the JavaScript section, this is where you put all your JavaScript code. This is where you put all your JavaScript code. Okay, now there's a lot of things happening here. I'm going to explain them one by one. Okay, so first thing is, now you'll notice that I have put some things in gray color. I hope you can see it in the screen. I have a lot of lines here, sentences in gray color. Okay, so let me just take one line here. Now that is what is called, let me just take a slide here. Now in JavaScript, you will see this // okay. Now the / are called as comments. Okay, so now when you are coding something, we have something called as code documentation. We have something called as code readability. Okay, now in a future session, I'll talk about the importance of documentation, code readability, and all that. I will discuss it, but right now, please understand that // is used to type comments, which help you in code documentation and code readability. So that is something, that is why we use / comments. Okay, so this is going to be a future chapter which we'll discuss. So let's go back here. Now next, this is where I'm trying to do something. So let's take this code here and understand what this is all about. Let me take one more slide and let me put this here. So what is happening here? So this is the first time you're seeing JavaScript. For those of you who are coming to programming for the first time, so this is how a programming code looks like. Now right now it may not make much sense, but very soon it will make a lot of sense, and that is what I'll do right now. So this one, I want to break it up into many parts. Okay, so first I want to break it up into this. This is the first part, and then you have equals, and then you have something called document. Okay, that's another part according to me. And then you have something called document.getElementById. So that's going to be another portion for you. And finally you have something in a bracket, and then you have something in a quote. So that is what something. And also, what is this ID? So we're going to talk about this ID. So these are the different parts which I can see in this one line. Okay, this is a single line I took from the JavaScript code. Let me change the color to highlight it. So this is a single line, and from this line I have found this part. Let me put a different color to it, and I have this equals. I'll talk about this in a minute. Yes, and I have this something called document. It looks like a function. So I'll put a different color for this. No, that's not a different color. It's the same color. No, this is also the same color. Yeah, there we go. And then you also have something like this. So I'm gonna give this a different color here. And then you have something like this. It's a lot of things really. So I'm gonna have to just kind of explain the whole thing to you. And if you're learning web programming, you need to learn this as well. Thank you, Bharat. Thank you, Bharat. Thank you, Kruti. Thank you, Navya. Thank you, guys. Thank you for confirming. Yes. And here we go. So these are all the different parts I have in that one JavaScript line. Actually, when we are talking about JavaScript, we use the word statement. So this is a JavaScript statement. This blue color is a JavaScript statement. Okay. So now what is this? Now this is what we call, now let me take this one line. Let me go to a new slide and put that here. So this is what is called a variable. Okay, so a variable is something in programming in JavaScript that we use to store values. Okay, as we do more JavaScript in future chapters, we'll learn more about variables, but right now think of this variable as something that stores the value or reference of some other thing. I'll just go with that example. Okay, so if you want a more everyday example, it is like like your water bottle. If you have a water bottle, you use the water bottle to keep water. So the water bottle contains the water. Similarly, a variable contains the value or reference of something else. So right now in this sentence, this variable, it has a name. The name is called temp image1. So this variable called as temp image1, it contains the reference and values related to this. Okay, now you will learn more about variables. You learn more about what does it contain, what is value, what is reference. You will learn it eventually, but right now think of this as a container, like a water bottle, or water bottle contains water. Or think of your wallet. Your wallet contains your cards, money, keys, so on. Altaya, no problem, man. Welcome to the class. Welcome. So your variable holds things. That's what this is. Next thing we have this called equals. Okay, now what is this equal? Let me take a slide here. Yes, there we go. So we have equals. Now what does equal do? Equals, it is called as assignment. It's actually called as assignment operator. We will talk about operators as our classes continue, but equals is like taking something and give it to something else. Assignment, you know about assignments. Now in college, when your teacher gives you an assignment, you have to do it. Like teacher says, okay guys, you have a English assignment. So that is an assignment, some work given to you by your teacher. So that means now you have that. So whatever your teacher gave, you have it. So your teacher gave you some homework as assignment, some maths problem or mathematics problem, and that has been assigned to you. So whenever you want to take something from one person and give it to another person in JavaScript, you use the equals operator. So in this sentence, we have this variable, and on the right side we have something here. We'll talk about this later. So whatever this right side something, we take it and then give it to the left side. Now in the video you may be seeing me reverse. I'm sorry, the camera, it's like a mirror, so so don't get confused. So whatever is on one side, let me, instead of saying left and right, let me make it like one side and other side. So whatever is on this side, the right side of the screen, not my hand, sorry, goes and sits in what is there on the left side of the screen, and that happens from equals. So it's like your teacher assigning something. So you have homework and your teacher is like the equals, and the teacher is giving the homework and assigning it to you. So the homework is there somewhere in the office and the teacher gives it to you, so it's being assigned to you. So that is why this equals is called the assignment operator. Usually it works from right side of the equals. One second, my keyboard, I told you guys I use a Japanese keyboard, a friend gifted me, but the equals thing is a mess. Let me just copy paste it. Yeah, so right side of the equals to the left side of the equals. So it always goes from right side to the left side. That is what the assignment operator, you know it as equals. In mathematics also, right? Like when you say 2 plus 3, for example, you might write something like 2 plus 3 equals 5. So what you're doing here is you are saying 2 and 3 together is equal to 5. So you're assigning a value, but in mathematics you go from left to right, whereas in programming, in coding, in JavaScript, we go from right side to the left side. Okay, now I'm repeating this again. I'm going very, very slow with this because this is the first time you're seeing JavaScript, and I want to make sure that you get it very, very correct. Okay, so whatever is there on the right side will now be deposited, stored into this variable on the left side. That is what the equals does. So now let's look at the next thing. Now you have something called document. Now what is this document? So let me put a slide for that also. So what is this document? Now in JavaScript or HTML, this web technology, there are what is called as functions. We will talk about functions later as the classes continue. So in JavaScript you have many functions. In functions you have two types. So you have built-in functions, and then you have user-defined functions. If you already know English, then you know, right? You know built-in functions is something which is already there. Whereas user-defined functions are functions that user means programmer, developer, programmer, coder. So built-in functions are functions that are already there. Whereas user-defined functions are functions that you have developed. This document is a built-in function. Now, built-in functions are something that appears, that is available for you to use directly. They have many features and so on. So that is what this document is. Okay. So in fact, it is like a very special object. We'll talk about objects later, so I'm not getting into that. So we'll talk about objects later. But right now, just assume that document is like a very useful collection of functions that you can use in your JavaScript. Hello Fad, hello, welcome to the class. Hello, welcome. So, okay then. So now we know about document. Now here what is happening? So I have document dot get element by ID. Now I told you that document is like a collection of so many functions. Some of these functions we'll be using as our classes continue. Right now in this example we are only going to use get element by ID. So that is what is happening here. Now please understand that this is just a beginner introduction, so we are not going to discuss deep into any of these things. Okay, so I just want to show you guys how JavaScript looks. Okay, so now this will help me get an element. Now you remember how when I was talking about HTML, I mentioned something called element. We call them HTML elements or DOM elements, right? So this is that element I kept talking about. And in CSS I talked about selector. I talked about how I have my Mac mouse here and I have my Windows mouse here. So if I have to talk about this Windows mouse, I will say a red mouse, or I will say Windows mouse. If I want to talk about my Mac mouse, I'll say the Mac mouse, or I'll say my Windows mouse, right? So selector, selecting something, picking something. That is what we did in CSS. Obviously in JavaScript we also have selectors, picking something, getting something. So we have this document which is like a collection of so many functions. It's like a collection of so many functions. Let me put that here. It's actually an object. We'll talk about objects later. And one of those functions is this document dot get element by ID. So let me put that in a new slide here. So this get element by ID, that element, this word here, this element, let me put that in a different color. So that element is the DOM element. Okay, or I also like to call it the HTML element. So in this function, what we try to do here is we try to go ahead and get that element. Now there are many ways. There are many ways to get an element in JavaScript. Right now we are only interested in getting that element using its ID. That is why I'm using this function get element by ID. I believe we have a question. Let me just see the question here. Okay, all right. Okay, all right, perfect. So that question was for a future class, so I'm going to answer that later. Perfect. So now coming back, so here what I'm doing is I have an object called document and I'm using a specific function called get element by ID. So I'm interested in picking up an element. using its ID. All right, so let's go back to our main list here. So and lastly about ID. Now here you have something called GetElementById. So let's talk about that ID. What is this ID? Okay, so let's take this ID here. Let me put a different color to this. Right, let me put that in a different color. Yeah, so what is this ID? So in HTML, there are many ways you can identify a DOM element or a HTML element. So one way of doing it is by giving it an ID. An ID is like a name. You know, like I told you about this mouse again, right? This is a red mouse. So red is its name. You have a white mouse. So white is its name. That's the ID. Now similarly, when you're coding HTML elements, you can give them ID. So ID is like a name. You can use that name to talk to that DOM element. So if I go back to my code here, now if I go back to my code that I'm writing, where is that? Yeah, so here if I go back to my code which I'm practicing, you'll notice that I have given the image ID. Let me put that here on my PowerPoint so you know what I'm talking about. Look at that. That is an ID. So what I'm doing here is using JavaScript, I am planning to manipulate the image. Now what do you mean by manipulation? You saw it here already. So if I go to my output, where is my output? Where is my output? Where is my, yeah, there you go. So here, this is an image, and when I click on it, the image changes. So I need to do this, which means that image, whatever is the image, it is coming from an image tag DOM element. So you see the image, but in the coding, it is nothing but a img tag. All right. So I need to catch that image tag. You know, I need to grab it, and then I need to modify it. Okay, that is what JavaScript does. It takes these DOM elements and then it modifies it. Okay, so what I'm doing here in my code now, so I want to take this image tag. You can see here, right? You can see the image tag. And I want to modify it. So what I do is I give it an ID. So it is easy to catch it. So that is what I'm doing here with my ID. That's the name. So you have a name, like if you have many friends. So one friend's name is Alice and another person's name is Babu. Then you want to call this person Babu, then you'll call, hey Babu, how are you? You want to call this person Alice, you're gonna like, hey Alice, how are you? So you're gonna do that, right? You're gonna use the name. So you want to give a gift to Alice, like, hey Alice, here you go. This is your new gift. You want to give a gift to Bob, you'll like, hey Babu, come here. Here is your gift. So that is how you do. Same thing with JavaScript. You want to manipulate the img tag, which has your image on your code. So that I give a name and then I can do something with it. So in my code, I have the img tag. Now please understand, this is now for you just a photo, but in code it is an img tag. You click on this. I'm not changing the image. The image is it was where it was. I am manipulating the img DOM element. That's what we do in JavaScript. Okay, we manipulate DOM elements. Now before you can manipulate something, you have to catch it. You have to access it. Now how do you access it? There are many methods of accessing in web programming. In our class, we are using ID. Okay, that is what this ID is all about. Okay, so I know it's a lot of things, right? This one line, this one line, I am saying so many things. See, that is the thing. No, you are coming here new. You're here for the first time. I'm going to spend a lot of time on this one line. You understand this one line, you will be able to code very nicely from today on. But if you don't understand this one line, boom, it's going to be very difficult, which is why I'm spending so much time on this. Okay, so there you go. Taking this line, first is the variable, then is the assignment operator, Then is the document object, which has lot of built-in functions, and one of those functions is GetElementById, and I have an ID. What is an ID? An ID is a name which you give to a DOM element. Now why do you have to give a name? So that you can manipulate it, because that is what we do in JavaScript. We go for that DOM element and then we manipulate it. I know I'm making an expression like I'm doing something bad, but I'm sorry, I'm just trying to put my point across. Okay, manipulate like in a good way, not in a bad way or something. And finally, this is the name I am giving. This is the ID that I'm giving to the img DOM element that I want to manipulate. Now what manipulation I'm trying to do here? This is all I'm trying to do. I have this photo. Okay, this is the img tag, and when I click on that img tag, I want it to show me a different photo. And when I click on it again, I want the photo to change. So as I click on it, I want it to keep changing. So that is my DOM element manipulation. So to do that, I need to write code, and the first line of code is this. And this contains variable, assignment operator, the document object, which contains so many built-in functions. One of those built-in functions is GetElementById. And what is an ID? ID is a name, and what ID I'm using? The ID I'm using is image1, and I am giving it to my code here in this tag. Okay, let me just put that code also in my PowerPoint here. So let me take this. So let me make this a little smaller. Yeah. So there you go, folks. This is what I am trying to do. This is what I have. Let me just, yeah, there we go. So this is my JavaScript. Okay, and this is connected to this image tag. So the image tag and the JavaScript are talking to each other. How? All because of this. See, look at this part. See, this is image1. Let me put that in a nice yellow color, and this is the tag here. Again, I'll put it in yellow color so you know. So these two things I am talking about. These two things, these two yellow color things, because they are same, they are connected. So they can talk to each other. So if they're not connected, so if I move this hand will not move. It is independent. Whereas when they're connected, I move this hand, another hand also moves. I move the other hand, another hand also moves. So because they are connected. So here what we are doing is, using this ID, I am connecting this JavaScript with this DOM element. So that is the very, very first step in JavaScript. Okay. Now that we know this, next we have to do the manipulation. Now obviously that is going to be a bit even more coding. You can see here in the coding we have even more coding to go. So right now we are only in the first line. We still have so many more lines which we will discuss tomorrow, because today it's already 1 hour of this class. I've told you guys that we only do 1 hour sessions here. Actually the session is usually for 40 to 50 minutes. I try to finish it off before 50 minutes. So there we go, folks. So that is where we are going to end. If you have any questions, please type it in. But I've told you the best way to ask me questions is if you can go to our website baribasic.com. We have something called Discord. If you are new to coding and Discord and all that, don't worry. Just come to our website baribasic.com. Click on Discord. Discord is like a WhatsApp group. Yeah. Discord is like a WhatsApp group where students can talk to me, chat with me, ask questions, whatever you want, all the time, 24/7. I mean, I'll reply whenever I can. And you can also meet other students and everything. Okay? So that is where I request to ask questions. So yes, so thank you, Navya. Thank you so much. So I'm going to wrap up my class here. It's exactly 1 hour here. So thank you so much for joining. If you missed this session, You can see the YouTube recordings. But yes, all the information is available in our website, baribasic, baribasic.com. If you have questions, come to Discord. You have that link there. Come to my Discord channel. It's like a WhatsApp group. You can chat with me. You can chat with other students and ask hundreds of questions. Okay, thank you folks. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining, Kruti. Thank you so much, Navya. Thank you, folks. Thank you so much. Bye, Kruti. Bye, Navya.